Precious gemstones have always captured imagination, representing beauty, status, and wealth. But not all that glitters is rare or worth the price. Some stones carry a hidden premium, quietly inflated by perception, marketing, and trends. The deeper the hue, the brighter the sparkle, the higher the assumption of value. Yet behind the displays across jewelry stores and online collections lies a market where appearance often outweighs reality. Experts have started to notice subtle shifts. Stones once considered investments are being overvalued, and buyers may be paying far more than a gem's true worth. From vibrant purples to fiery oranges, soft pinks to deep greens, the allure is undeniable. But the financial risk is real. This is the story of gemstones whose beauty masks the truth, revealing a silent danger hidden in plain sight. In the next few minutes, each gem will expose a different way the market misleads, showing how perception can become price and how even the most stunning stones can lead to costly mistakes. By the end, viewers will see exactly where appearances deceive and why some of the most coveted gems might be the ones experts quietly warn against. Ranked 10th. Amethyst, when beauty feels more valuable than it is. There was a time when deep purple amethyst was reserved for royalty. Kings and queens prized its rich violet hues and flawless crystal structures, believing it to be a symbol of wealth, power, and exclusivity. Its name alone carried prestige, and owning a specimen meant entering a realm of elegance few could imagine. That perception of rarity persisted for centuries, cementing amethyst's reputation as a luxurious gemstone. Today, the stone still carries that aura. Polished crystals and geodes shimmer under carefully arranged lights in jewelry stores, and the deeper the hue, the more it appears valuable. The stone can command attention in displays, set in gold or silver, framed as a luxury item. Many buyers see the color, clarity, and size and assume that they are paying for scarcity. Yet that assumption is where the overpricing begins. Behind the beauty lies a very different reality. Vast deposits in Brazil and Uruguay have made amethyst one of the most abundant gemstones available today. Large geodes, some bigger than a chair, are extracted with remarkable consistency. It is no longer a rare treasure of limited supply. Instead, it is a stable commodity. Despite this, retail pricing continues to reflect history and perception rather than current market scarcity. The danger lies in perception. Consumers often pay a premium for amethyst because it looks valuable, not because it is rare. The presentation under luxurious lighting, the historical associations with royalty, and its consistent appearance of elegance all reinforce the idea of worth beyond actual supply. Buyers rarely investigate production volume, geological abundance, or market trends. They respond to aesthetics, and the pricing subtly takes advantage of that. Experts quietly acknowledge this overpricing. The stone's beauty remains unquestioned, but its market value is often inflated relative to availability. The true cost of amethyst is not determined by its rarity, but by perception. The illusion that what looks exceptional must also be valuable. In this way, amethyst demonstrates how even genuine gemstones can be subtly overvalued, quietly drawing buyers into paying more than what the market justifies. This is the essence of quiet overpricing, a gem that is authentic, beautiful, and desirable, yet surrounded by an invisible gap between perceived and actual value. Each facet, each rich violet hue, contributes to a silent inflation, reminding buyers that appearances can mislead, and elegance does not always equate to worth. Ranked 9th, blue topaz, the illusion of a rare blue. Blue topaz often appears as a gemstone of unmistakable luxury. Its vivid azure hue, sometimes described as Swiss blue, glows beneath every facet, catching the eye instantly. In retail settings, the stone is carefully lit, set against polished metals, and framed to suggest rarity and exclusivity. For many buyers, the intense color signals a valuable, naturally scarce gemstone. That perception, however, masks a subtle but pervasive overpricing issue. Most blue topaz on the market is not naturally vibrant. The majority has undergone irradiation or heat treatment to achieve its signature blue shade. Untreated stones with comparable color are exceedingly rare, yet the treated varieties dominate jewelry shelves. Prices often suggest scarcity, implying the stone's brilliance is naturally rare. This misalignment between appearance and market reality is the essence of hidden price inflation. Retailers rarely explain the treatment process in detail, leaving buyers to assume that the stone's beauty equates to intrinsic value. A consumer might pay a high premium, believing the color and clarity reflect rarity, while in reality, the gem's value is largely a result of human intervention. The process itself is legal, safe, and widely accepted within the industry. But it creates a cognitive disconnect. The price reflects presentation, not natural scarcity. Experts have quietly observed this trend. Those familiar with gemstone sourcing understand that high-quality, untreated blue topaz is extremely uncommon. Yet the retail narrative emphasizes aesthetics over provenance, subtly inflating perception-based prices. Each brilliant hue, each perfectly cut facet, reinforces the impression that the stone is rarer than it truly is, encouraging buyers to accept higher cost as justified. The phenomenon is not immediately obvious. Blue topaz does not carry the historical prestige of amethyst or the dramatic scarcity of Tanzanite. Its overpricing is quiet, hidden in plain sight, embedded in the psychology of appearance and expectation. Shoppers may compare stones visually, selecting the brightest and most flawless pieces, unaware that the price gap stems largely from the perceived rarity crafted by treatment and marketing. Understanding this invisible inflation requires looking beyond surface beauty. True value lies in natural occurrence, market supply, and the distinction between untreated rarity and enhanced aesthetics. Failing to recognize this distinction can lead to paying more than the gemstone's objective worth, quietly reinforcing the gap between perception and reality. Blue topaz exemplifies the subtle danger of hidden price inflation. It is alluring, seemingly rare, and visually captivating, yet the underlying scarcity does not justify the cost. The stone silently demonstrates how market forces and aesthetic appeal can conspire to create inflated prices, making even experienced buyers susceptible to overpayment. Recognizing the difference between appearance and actual rarity is essential before committing to any purchase in today's gemstone market. Ranked 8th, Morganite, when soft luxury masks true value. A soft pink glow draws the eye, captivating with subtle elegance. Morganite has surged in popularity over recent years, embraced in engagement rings and fine jewelry, as a gentle, romantic alternative to more traditional gemstones. Its pastel peach-pink tones, delicate transparency, and refined sparkle make it appear both rare and valuable. The expectation is immediate. This is a precious, high-end stone worthy of premium prices. Yet reality tells a different story. Large quantities of Morganite are mined and commercially available, particularly from Brazil and Madagascar. Despite its visual charm, the stone is far more abundant than perception suggests. Retail pricing, however, has surged in tandem with trends, often disconnected from actual supply or rarity. The softer the hue, the more buyers believe they are purchasing an exclusive luxury, while in truth, many pieces are widely obtainable. The dissonance between expectation and reality is subtle but impactful. Marketing emphasizes rarity, romance, and exclusivity, encouraging consumers to equate aesthetic beauty with inherent value. Retail displays, carefully crafted lighting, and descriptive labels all reinforce the impression that this stone is exceptional. Those encountering Morganite for the first time are often surprised by the price, assuming the color and clarity must correspond with scarcity, a belief that can be misleading. Experts quietly note this trend. The gem itself is entirely genuine, yet its market narrative inflates perceived value. Those familiar with gemstone sourcing understand that Morganite is far more common than its high-end pricing implies. The phenomenon illustrates how expectation, carefully cultivated by presentation and trendiness, can distort perceived worth. Buyers may leave stores believing they have secured a rare treasure, not realizing that the stone's cost reflects aesthetic appeal rather than true rarity. This subtle inflation grows with each transaction. Social media exposure, influencer endorsements, and bridal trends magnify desirability, amplifying demand while masking actual market abundance. Each purchase reinforces the misperception, further inflating the stone's apparent exclusivity. For consumers, the pink glow of Morganite becomes a signal not just of beauty, but of financial commitment, often exceeding what objective rarity justifies. The gap between expectation and reality is a critical lesson in gemstone markets. Beauty alone is not an indicator of value, and trend-driven popularity does not guarantee scarcity. Morganite demonstrates how market forces, perception, and aesthetics converge to create overpricing that can quietly mislead even careful buyers. Understanding the difference between visual appeal and actual rarity is essential to avoid paying more than a gemstone is objectively worth. In the case of Morganite, the charm of soft luxury masks the truth. The stone is authentic and visually stunning, yet buyers must navigate the delicate line between romance and reality. Without careful evaluation, the expectation of exclusivity becomes a guide to overpayment, a tension-filled lesson in recognizing how appearances can misrepresent true value. Ranked 7th. Peridot. When the market distorts value, green sparks glimmer through polished facets, each one suggesting a gemstone of undeniable worth. Peridot, with its vivid lime to olive hues, carries an immediate sense of freshness and vitality. Buyers often interpret its brilliance and clarity as markers of scarcity and intrinsic value. In display cases, under the right lighting, the stone almost commands admiration, encouraging the assumption that the price tag is justified. Yet beneath this surface lies a market that distorts perception, quietly inflating cost beyond true value. The reality is that Peridot is far more accessible than most consumers realize. Major sources in Arizona, China, and Pakistan provide a steady, abundant supply. Entire mining regions produce thousands of carats annually, supplying both domestic and international markets. Despite this, retail pricing rarely aligns with availability. Instead, it responds to demands shaped by aesthetics, trend, and marketing strategy, rather than actual scarcity. The result is a gemstone that looks rare, but in truth is widely obtainable. A classic case of subtle overpricing. This disparity between appearance and market reality is amplified by presentation. Jewelry stores and online retailers highlight the most vibrant specimens, positioning them as high-value treasures. Marketing emphasizes their historical significance, color intensity, and exclusivity, without disclosing how common these stones truly are. Consumers, drawn in by the allure of a perfect green glow, often assume that high cost equals rarity. In doing so, they fall victim to a market carefully calibrated to maintain elevated prices while exploiting perception. Experts in gemology and retail quietly acknowledge this dynamic. Peridot's appeal is undeniable, yet its market signals can mislead. While the stone itself is authentic and visually captivating, the price often reflects presentation rather than objective value. Buyers making decisions solely on visual impact and marketing cues risk paying more than the gemstone's intrinsic worth. This is particularly potent in mid-tier specimens, which dominate the market and are heavily promoted despite their abundance. The tension in this segment of the top 10 is instructive. The market's subtle manipulation creates a psychological trap. Beauty suggests scarcity, scarcity suggests value, and value justifies cost. Each polished stone reinforces this chain, pulling consumers deeper into paying inflated prices. The danger is quiet, almost imperceptible, yet cumulative. Each transaction validates the inflated perception, maintaining elevated price points without any real increase in rarity. Understanding Peridot's situation illuminates a broader lesson about the gemstone market. When supply is abundant but presentation implies exclusivity, prices can climb quietly and consistently. Buyers drawn to aesthetic brilliance may unknowingly contribute to the illusion of rarity. In this sense, Peridot exemplifies how market forces can mislead, creating a gemstone whose apparent value is shaped more by perception and marketing than by actual scarcity or historical significance. Ranked 6th. Tanzanite, beyond the blue hype. A stone of striking violet blue, Tanzanite has captivated collectors and jewelry enthusiasts with its intense coloration and exotic origin. It is often marketed as one of the rarest gems, a one-of-a-kind treasure from a singular source in northern Tanzania. The expectation is immediate. Owning Tanzanite is a mark of sophistication, rarity, and significant financial value. Yet a closer inspection of its market and grading reveals a more complicated reality. While high-quality Tanzanite is indeed scarce, the majority of stones available in retail are lower-grade specimens. Many possess inclusions, uneven color saturation, or less brilliance than promotional images suggest. Retail pricing frequently fails to differentiate adequately between these grades, applying a uniform premium that implies rarity across the board. Buyers relying solely on color and cut may overestimate the value of stones that are abundant in lower quality tiers. The discrepancy grows when considering treatment. Nearly all Tanzanite undergoes heat treatment to enhance color, a practice widely accepted in the industry. However, the prevalence of treated stones can mislead consumers, who may assume that brilliance equates to natural, untouched rarity. While such treatments do not diminish the gem's authenticity, they influence perception, allowing prices to be set disproportionately to intrinsic scarcity and overall quality. Supply dynamics further complicate the picture. The singular geographic source does impose natural limits, but mining output fluctuates annually, and a large proportion of lower-grade Tanzanite enters the market. Jewelry stores and online platforms often highlight only the most visually striking stones, giving the impression that all Tanzanite commands similar value. This selective presentation feeds the perception of scarcity, even when substantial quantities of lower-grade material exist unseen. Experts caution that discerning buyers must examine more than surface beauty. True value lies in clarity, color consistency, cut precision, and treatment history. Comparing stones side by side reveals dramatic differences between top-tier Tanzanite and the more common, commercially available varieties. Without careful evaluation, the price paid may reflect marketing emphasis rather than actual rarity or long-term value. This closer inspection exposes a critical insight. The Tanzanite market relies heavily on perception. The striking hue captures attention and imagination, yet not all stones are created equal. Buyers drawn in by the allure of deep violet blue may overpay, believing they have acquired a rare specimen, when in reality, they are paying a premium for appearance rather than true scarcity. The lesson is clear. Tanzanite's allure masks significant variability in quality, treatment, and market availability. Understanding these nuances allows consumers to navigate the hype, differentiate true rarity from aesthetic appeal, and avoid paying inflated prices based on perception alone. Each facet, each shade, must be weighed carefully to separate the genuinely exceptional from the merely impressive. Ranked 5th. Lab-grown diamonds, when appearance outpaces value. A diamond's sparkle is instantly mesmerizing, seemingly signaling wealth, permanence, and rarity. Lab-grown diamonds, nearly indistinguishable from natural ones to the naked eye, carry that same allure. In jewelry displays, these stones gleam brilliantly under curated lighting, cut to perfection, polished to reflect maximum fire. For buyers, the expectation is clear. A diamond, natural or synthetic, is an investment, a symbol of enduring value. Reality, however, paints a strikingly different picture. Lab-grown diamonds are manufactured in controlled environments, enabling precise consistency in color, clarity, and size. While this allows consumers access to visually perfect stones at a lower initial price than natural diamonds, the long-term financial implications are often overlooked. Unlike mined diamonds, their market value does not appreciate over time, and resale opportunities are limited. Paying a premium for appearance rather than intrinsic scarcity is a subtle but significant financial misstep. The pricing structure amplifies this issue. Retailers often present lab-grown diamonds in ways that mimic natural diamond marketing, emphasizing brilliance and perfection while downplaying long-term market limitations. Many buyers, drawn by the stone's flawless appearance and initial affordability, assume it carries enduring investment potential. The assumption that beauty equates to lasting value creates a gap between perceived and actual worth, a gap that quietly inflates the risk of overpayment. Furthermore, market saturation plays a critical role. Lab-grown production can scale rapidly, responding to demand almost instantaneously. This flexibility ensures supply will generally meet or exceed market appetite, preventing scarcity from supporting higher long-term value. Unlike rare natural stones, the abundance of lab-grown alternatives inherently limits potential appreciation. For consumers, this means paying a price influenced more by marketing and aesthetics than by the underlying value or rarity of the stone. Experts caution that buyers must evaluate not just visual qualities, but market realities. A flawless lab-grown diamond may sparkle with brilliance, but its financial trajectory differs fundamentally from mined diamonds. Misjudging this distinction can result in paying more than the stone's real-world value, transforming an aesthetically satisfying purchase into a subtle financial error. Each cut, each facet, each marketed premium label contributes to a perception that may not align with reality. This reality hit is precisely the point where perception diverges from practical value. The stone's beauty is undeniable, but it masks an important truth. In the market of synthetic diamonds, price is determined less by scarcity or investment potential and more by controlled production and consumer desire. Buyers entranced by brilliance alone may overlook the limits of long-term value, risking overpayment in a market carefully calibrated to exploit visual appeal. Lab-grown diamonds reveal a hard lesson. When the allure of perfection overshadows economic reality, financial missteps become almost inevitable. The sparkle may captivate, but understanding true market dynamics is essential to avoid paying for illusion rather than value. Ranked fourth, fire opal, the trap of visual allure. The fiery glow of a fire opal is instantly arresting. Orange and red flashes ripple through its translucent body, creating a sense of warmth and movement that seems almost alive. For many, the first encounter evokes awe, a perception of rarity and high value that immediately commands attention. Yet beneath this dazzling display lies a subtle trap, one that misleads buyers into overestimating worth. Unlike gemstones, whose scarcity is backed by limited supply, many fire opals on the market are commercial-grade stones. While naturally occurring, they are abundant enough to meet high retail demand. Their dramatic colors and clarity, carefully chosen for display, create a strong impression of exclusivity. Consumers drawn to their brilliance often equate visual impact with intrinsic value, unaware that production and supply have shifted the balance between perception and reality. Marketing and presentation amplify this effect. Retailers highlight the most vibrant specimens, framing them in luxurious settings and emphasizing their fiery brilliance. Images focus on perfect flashes of orange and red, rarely revealing common variations or inclusions present in the majority of stones. Buyers respond to these cues instinctively, equating rarity with beauty, price, and desirability. This is the psychological trap, assumption of value based purely on aesthetic impression. Experts note that commercial-grade fire opals can be heavily priced despite their relative abundance. Each transaction reinforces the illusion that the stone's brilliance reflects scarcity. Consumers, captivated by visual drama, often overlook the subtle signs of mass availability, focusing instead on immediate sensory impact. In doing so, they risk paying a premium far above what the stone's objective market value would justify. The trap is further compounded by emotional investment. Fire opal is associated with passion, energy, and symbolism that elevate perceived significance. Buyers seeking not just a gem, but a statement are particularly vulnerable to overpricing, conflating visual appeal, and emotional resonance with rarity and value. The more dramatic the display, the stronger the perception that a high price is warranted, and the harder it becomes to separate sensation from substance. Understanding this dynamic requires careful observation. A closer look at supply chains, production sources, and the prevalence of commercial-grade specimens reveals a stark contrast between perception and reality. While the stone itself remains authentic and visually captivating, the price is often anchored in presentation rather than scarcity, a misalignment that quietly leads to overpayment. Fire opal exemplifies how visual allure can distort judgment. Each flash of color entices attention, but without a measured evaluation of market context, buyers can be trapped into paying for an illusion of exclusivity. The stone teaches a critical lesson. In the world of gemstones, brilliance alone does not guarantee value, and appearances can subtly manipulate perception. a psychological trap that precedes the financial peaks to come in this top 10. Ranked third, rose quartz. When sentiment inflates price, soft, pale, pink, and almost ethereal in appearance, rose quartz captivates with an immediacy that few stones can match. Its gentle glow evokes calm and evokes associations with love, healing, and emotional well-being. These symbolic qualities, carefully highlighted by retailers, create the impression that the stone is not just beautiful, but also precious and rare. Yet beneath the surface of sentiment lies a subtle danger. Buyers are paying for symbolism as much as for the stone itself. The majority of rose quartz is abundantly sourced from Brazil, Madagascar, and the United States. Despite its widespread availability, marketing emphasizes its supposed rarity, spiritual value, and ability to bring harmony. The more visually perfect the stone, fewer inclusions, even color, smooth polished surfaces, the higher the price commanded. This creates a dissonance between aesthetic or symbolic appeal and actual market value, quietly inflating costs beyond what scarcity alone would justify. Retailers and social media alike reinforce this perception. Images and displays highlight flawless stones, often set in delicate jewelry, while ignoring the widespread accessibility of commercial-grade pieces. Consumers influenced by these cues assume that beauty and symbolic significance equate to higher intrinsic value. The subtle overpricing persists, unnoticed by many, because it is camouflaged by emotional resonance rather than explicit scarcity. Experts have noted this dynamic in contemporary gemstone markets. While rose quartz maintains a unique visual appeal, the inflated prices reflect the story around the stone rather than its actual rarity. Emotional symbolism, social trends, and aesthetic perfection combine to create a psychological premium where perception drives payment more than objective rarity. Buyers often fall into the trap of equating market price with value, particularly when emotion intensifies the perceived importance of ownership. The risk is compounded by cultural narratives. As a healing stone, rose quartz is promoted across wellness circles, spiritual blogs, and lifestyle influencers, heightening desirability without increasing genuine scarcity. Each transaction reinforces the notion that high cost is justified, further widening the gap between appearance, sentiment, and objective market value. Those who buy purely based on emotional response may unknowingly contribute to the quiet inflation that underlies the market. This is the essence of the warning signal, a gemstone that is authentic and visually appealing, yet whose pricing is heavily influenced by sentiment, marketing, and perceived symbolism. The danger becomes apparent when buyers realize that emotional allure can distort judgment, prompting overpayment for stones that are more common than perceived. Each rose quartz piece purchased under this illusion quietly validates the inflated pricing, alerting experts to the risk before the market reaches its peak. Rose quartz illustrates a critical lesson in gemstone evaluation. Aesthetic perfection and emotional appeal can create hidden premiums, producing an invisible yet powerful financial trap. Recognizing the distinction between genuine rarity and market-influenced perception is essential to avoid paying for the story rather than the stone itself. Ranked second, turquoise, when the stone isn't what it seems. At first glance, turquoise captivates with its vibrant blue-green matrix, flecked with veins of black or brown, exuding a timeless charm rooted in history. Many associate it with ancient traditions, Native American artistry, and spiritual significance. Its color seems rare, its patterns distinctive, and its allure compelling. These qualities set expectations that buyers often carry into jewelry stores, assuming the price reflects the stone's scarcity. Reality, however, can be far less forgiving. A significant portion of turquoise sold today is stabilized or treated, enhancing color, hardness, and durability. Some pieces are combined with resins or other additives to improve appearance, making them easier to work with for jewelry, but less natural than buyers assume. The market rarely emphasizes these treatments, allowing the perception of rarity to dominate. The buyer, captivated by its hue and historical prestige, often overlooks that what appears authentic may be partially engineered, creating a quiet yet pervasive form of overpricing. Retail presentation reinforces this misperception. High-end displays focus on flawless coloration and intricate veining, encouraging buyers to equate perfection with scarcity. Social media and lifestyle imagery contribute further, showcasing turquoise in idealized settings without revealing its treatment history. Consumers, trusting appearance and narrative, may pay substantial sums believing they have acquired a rare, untouched gem, a classic example of deceptive perception driving financial decisions. Experts caution that turquoise is particularly susceptible to this hidden inflation. While natural, untreated stones exist, they are far less common than most buyers realize. The prevalence of stabilized or artificially enhanced pieces means that paying a premium for visual appeal does not guarantee true rarity or long-term value. Each purchase based solely on aesthetics without awareness of treatment reinforces the market's subtle overpricing, creating a financial trap for the unwary. This deception becomes more pronounced as the eye is drawn to size and color saturation. Larger pieces with uniform tone command higher prices, even when most of the material is stabilized. Buyers are often enticed by the illusion of natural perfection, failing to account for market practices that make these stones more accessible and less valuable than advertised. The combination of emotional appeal, historical prestige, and visual beauty amplifies the potential for overpayment. Turquoise illustrates the consequences of unexamined assumptions. A stone that looks rare and carries cultural weight may quietly overstate its financial worth. The misalignment between perception and reality sets the stage for the climax of this top 10, the ultimate financial danger hidden within a seemingly desirable gemstone. When the illusion of scarcity is unmasked, the buyer realizes that appearance alone does not equal value. Recognizing the gap between what the stone seems to be and what it truly represents is essential. Turquoise serves as a cautionary tale. Even authentic gemstones can mislead, and the subtle artifice of market presentation can turn admiration into overpayment. The stakes rise as viewers are now primed for the final entry, where beauty, market forces, and financial risk converge most dramatically. First place, emerald, the most expensive mistake. A deep, vivid green glows from within an emerald, captivating the eye and commanding attention in any display. Its name evokes prestige, history, and unparalleled beauty. Collectors and enthusiasts alike perceive it as a pinnacle of gemstone investment, assuming that color, clarity, and origin inherently justify the price. Yet this assumption conceals one of the most significant financial traps in today's gemstone market. The majority of emeralds available commercially are heavily treated with oils or resins to enhance clarity and reduce visible inclusions. These treatments, while widely accepted and legal, substantially influence perceived value. Buyers drawn to the stone's radiant hue and apparent perfection often assume that brilliance equates to natural rarity. In reality, much of the price reflects aesthetic manipulation rather than intrinsic scarcity. Paying premium sums under this assumption is where financial risk escalates dramatically. Retail marketing amplifies the effect. Stores highlight stones with uniform green saturation, polished surfaces, and minimal visible flaws, suggesting both rarity and investment potential. Visual cues, historical narratives, and curated displays reinforce the perception that the stone's beauty signals high value. Consumers responding to these cues may overlook production and treatment realities, unknowingly paying far above the gemstone's actual market worth. Supply dynamics further exacerbate the problem. While emeralds from certain regions are naturally limited, treatment allows a much larger quantity of visually appealing stones to enter the market. This increases availability without diminishing retail pricing, sustaining inflated values across mid and low-grade stones. Buyers who fail to recognize this are caught in a perfect financial trap, paying for the illusion of rarity rather than reality. The financial danger peaks when combining visual allure, historical prestige, and treatment opacity. Buyers seeking both beauty and investment can misjudge value, assuming scarcity drives cost when presentation does. Each purchase under these assumptions validates the inflated pricing, reinforcing the disconnect between perception and intrinsic worth. This is the culmination of the subtle overpricing patterns seen throughout the top 10. Beauty, marketing, and trend converge to create a silent but potent financial risk. Experts warn that understanding treatment, quality grading, and source authenticity is essential. Without such insight, even experienced buyers may make costly mistakes. The stone's natural splendor is undeniable, but the true measure of value lies not in perception, nor in historical reverence, but in objective rarity and market dynamics. Emerald demonstrates the ultimate lesson of this top 10. When allure, market manipulation, and emotional appeal align, the risk of overpayment reaches its zenith. Each facet, each saturated green hue, each carefully polished surface contributes to a silent escalation of financial exposure. In this peak moment, the viewer is confronted with the stark reality that even a genuine gemstone can carry a hidden, expensive danger, one that only knowledge, scrutiny, and awareness can mitigate. Beauty and rarity do not always travel together. Across the gemstone market, perception has quietly inflated prices, turning even authentic stones into potential financial traps. From vivid purples and blues to soft pinks and deep greens, each gemstone has illustrated how allure, marketing, and emotion can mask true value. What appears extraordinary may not be as scarce as it seems, and paying for perception rather than reality carries hidden risk. Experts quietly advise caution. Understanding treatment, grading, and provenance is essential before investing in any gem. Each facet tells a story beyond its sparkle. Each color hides lessons about market manipulation, and every purchase requires discernment. The stones themselves remain breathtaking, but knowledge separates admiration from overpayment. For collectors, enthusiasts, and anyone drawn to luxury gems, the takeaway is clear. Awareness is the greatest safeguard. Recognizing the gap between beauty and value ensures that appreciation does not come at a financial cost. These gemstones have dazzled for centuries, but only those who see beyond appearances will truly understand their worth.